will start with Laplace transform. It is a same kind of transformation what we have seen for the continuous time signal in terms of Fourier transform or Fourier series. So sorry. So we'll start with Laplace transformation. So the representation of signals and LTI system, previously what we have seen is that was using superposition of complex sinusoids, right? So for the Fourier representation, if we have been talking about Fourier representation, so what we did, we have been representing all the signals or the LTI system by using superposition of complex sinusoid, right? Representation of signals and LTI systems by using superposition of complex sinusoids. Okay. Now for this case the continuous time signals and system representations are based on complex exponential signal. So if we have been talking about this Laplace transformation, for this Laplace transformation, this continuous time signals and systems will be representing in terms of complex exponential signal. Exponential signal. So previously what we did with type of superposition of complex sinusoids. Now we'll go with in terms of complex exponential signals. We'll go with complex exponential signals. So the Laplace transform provides a kind of broader characterization of continuous time LTI systems and their interaction with signals. What we are doing same thing what we are doing for the Fourier methods also. So it will give you some another way, another perspective of interaction with signals and LTI systems what we have seen earlier also. So for example, we can take that Laplace transform can be used to analyze a large class of continuous time problems involving some signals. Let us consider if we have been going with if we have been taking some as an example, so continuous and complex exponentials, let us consider some convolution of time signals. Previously what we have seen, if we have been going with the convolution of time signals, that becomes the multiplication of the transformation. So here also same thing will find that the convolution, if we have been taking as an example that convolution of time signals, it will also be a multiplication of the Laplace transformed signals. So the output of an LTI system is obtained simply by taking the multiplication of Laplace transformation, what we have seen for the earlier case also. Okay. Now why we have been going with this Laplace transformation is that sometimes it occurs that some signals are not absolutely integral. Some signals are not absolutely integral. So what we are doing previously, that we are supposed to take the superposition of all the complex sinusoids. So superpositions means for the discrete time signals we are taking the summation, and for the continuous time signals we are taking the superposition, means integration. So it may occur that in some cases that some signals that are not absolutely integrable, such as we can take as an example like impulse response of an unstable system. So impulse, if we have been giving some impulse on the unstable system, so what will be the response, that will be not absolutely integrable. So Fourier transform does not exist for signals that are not absolutely integrable. So this Fourier transform based methods cannot be employed in this class of problems. Okay. So to 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 make the method quite easier, so we have been going with this Laplace transformation. So it is also means you will find the similarities with all the Fourier transformations, what Fourier representation what we've seen here. Also if you've been going with some convolution, so in the frequency domain what we've seen that it's supposed to be simply the multiplication of the signal. So here also you will find that when we have been going in the Laplace transformation, so we're supposed to take the multiplication of the transform signals to find the convolution. So here are the some similarities are also there. Now if we have been particularly talking about this Laplace transformation, it is of two varieties or two kinds. Laplace transformation, it is of two kind. One is unilateral or you can say one sided. I will tell what are this. Another is known as bilateral, or it is known as two sided. So these are the two different kinds of Laplace transformation. So if we have been going with unilateral Laplace transformation, it is a convenient tool for solving differential equation with initial conditions. If you can able to remember that we have been talking about some differential representation and difference equation representation, so where we have been taken some initial condition. So this unilateral transformation is convenient tool for solving differential equations with initial conditions. So if we have been talking about this unilateral Laplace transformation, so it is a convenient tool for solving a differential equation with initial condition. Now if we have been talking about this bilateral, it offers insight into the nature of system characteristics. If we have been going up with this bilateral Laplace transformation, it will give you some characteristics, system characteristics, like stability, then causality, then frequency response. Okay. So if we have been talking about the primary role of Laplace transformation, it is used for doing the transient and stability analysis of a causal LTI system described by differential equation. So if we have been talking about this primary role of Laplace transformation, it is used for transient, I will talk about this transient and stability analysis of causal LTI systems described by differential equations. So if we have been talking about this transient, means transient period is the moment at which, let's consider you have been glowing a light. So the moment at which you have been switching on, let us take at t is equals to 0, you have been switching on the light. So that period is known as transient period, the moment at which you have been switching on the system, or the moment at which you are providing the signal to the system, some supply has been given to the system, that moment is known as transient moment. So this transient moment, let us consider a system has been staying at rest for a long period, for whole day you have been not switching it on. So suddenly for a moment when you have been switching it on, so that period is known as transient period. So the system behavior is different for this transient period as well as for the rest period. So that rest period is known as steady state behavior, and the moment at which you have been switching on the system, that is known as transient behavior. So it is used for transient and stability analysis of causal LTI systems described by differential equation. So let us go with the mathematical expressions of the Laplace transformation. So let e to the power st be a complex exponential. We are supposed to represent with respect to complex exponential. So be a complex exponential with complex frequency s. This is complex frequency s. Small s is sigma plus j omega. So what we can write, e to the power st is e to the power sigma t plus e to the power into e to the power j omega t. So we are supposed to go with the Euler's expansion. So that will become cos omega t plus j e to the power sigma t sin omega t. So let us give equation number 1. So the real part of e to the power st is an exponential damped cosine. This is known as exponential damped. And this one is known as exponentially damped sine. So if you draw about this two, if you have been going with this two terms, so if we plot, I am just plotting here. So this real part is exponentially damped cosine and imaginary part is exponentially damped sine. So cosine means the peak value will start from the, I am just drawing that one. So there will be sine and it will decrease exponentially. Something like this. So it is exponentially decaying. Here also it may exist. Like this. It will be like this. Okay. So it is real of e to the power st. This exponential decaying or this envelope, it is e to the power sigma t. This one is e to the power minus sigma t, right? Let us consider it is 0, some period, it is twice pi by omega, like this, it is 4 pi by omega, this is t. Okay. This one is 1, this one is minus 1. Now if we have been going with this imaginary part, so it will start from this origin. Same here, this one will be 0, this amplitude is 1, here it is minus 1, this envelope is e to the power sigma t, this is e to the power minus sigma t. Let us consider 0, this one is 1 cycle, so it is twice pi by omega. Next cycle is here, so it is 4 pi by omega, like this. Okay, so these are the exponentially damped, means they are decreasing their amplitude exponentially. This cosine signal or this sine signal, they are decreasing their amplitudes exponentially. So this kind of signals are known as damped signals. So at every cycle their amplitude are been decreasing. So this kind of signals are known as damped signals. So here the real part of S is exponentially damping factor of omega, sorry, this sigma, and the imaginary part of S is the frequency of cosine and sine factor, namely omega. Okay, the real part of S is the exponential damping factor sigma, this real part having this exponential damping factor of this sigma, and imaginary part of S, that is j omega, is the frequency of the cosine and sine factor, right? Because our S is sigma plus j omega. So if we have been going with this real part, it is the damping factor. If we have been going with this omega, this is the frequency of this cosine and sine, right? Now we are supposed to find out the eigenfunction property of e to the power st. So what is that? Let me derive that one first. Eigenfunction property of e to the power st. So consider an input of the form xt is equal to e to the power st. So some input signal is something like that, xt is equals to e to the power st. It has been given to an LTI system. It is given to an LTI system with impulse response, that LTI system having the impulse response of h of t. Therefore the output, the system output is obviously yt will be h of xt. Or we can say it is the convolution between these two, ht convolution x of t. Or we can write integration minus infinite to infinite h of tau x t minus tau d tau. So let us put this xt is equals to e to the power st. So t will be replaced by t minus tau. So this yt is integration minus infinite to infinite h of tau e to the power s t minus tau d tau. Or we can take out this e to the power st outside, minus infinite to infinite h tau e to the power minus of s tau d tau. So we can define this one as hs, or the known as transfer function, which is known as hs, capital Hs is integration minus infinite to infinite h of tau e to the power minus s tau d tau. Okay, or we can write this yt as what we have written, xt will be e to the power st, or hs, this one hs, this is our hs into e to the power st. This is known as transfer function. So the action of the system on an input e to the power st is simply the multiplication by the transfer function hs. So it is known as the transfer function. So how we are getting this transfer function? Hs is because of the impulse response of ht. So that impulse response obviously will decide how the system behavior will be to an input. If there is an input, let us consider for our case it is complex exponential e to the power st. So depending upon this e to the power st, that complex exponential, our system how it will behave, so that will completely depends upon this impulse response. So this impulse, from that impulse response we are getting this hs, which is known as the transfer function for that LTI system to an exponentially, to an complex exponential signal. So if we are having any kind of input which is in terms of complex exponential, so we can say that our system output is simply the multiplication of this hs by the input. Whatever the input is, if that input is of kind of complex exponential, so we can say that our system output is simply the multiplication of that complex exponential with that system response. So system response, this kind of system response is due to the input when the input is complex exponential type. Okay, so this, we can say this eigenfunction is a signal, this eigenfunction is a signal that passes through the system without being modified except for multiplication by scalar, except by multiplication by scalar. So we can identify e to the power st as an eigenfunction of the LTI system, and the hs is the corresponding eigenvalue, right? So we can say this e to the power st is the eigenfunction, and this hs is the eigenvalue of the LTI system. So we can express the complex value transfer function, this is the complex value transfer function hs, in polar form also. So we can write this one as hs, okay, I am writing here hs in polar form as mod of hs into e to the power j phi s, where this mod of hs and phi s are the magnitude and phase of hs and phase of hs respectively. So for the LTI system output, LTI system output in polar form, that will be yt is equals to mod of hs into e to the power j phi s e to the power st. Now if we have been putting this s, which is the complex value, we know that s is sigma plus j omega, it is known as complex frequency. So let us put here, so what we can get, this yt is mod of h of sigma plus j omega e to the power, we supposed to put here also e to the power sigma t, right, s equals to sigma plus j omega. So sigma t plus j omega t plus phi of sigma plus j omega. So we can write down in Euler's form mod of h of sigma plus j omega as e to the power sigma t, then cos will come as a real part, omega t plus phi of sigma plus j omega plus j of h of sigma plus j omega e to the power sigma t, then sine of omega t plus phi sigma plus j omega. Okay. So when the system input xt is been given is of the form of e to the power st, so what we have seen that the system changes the amplitude of the input by h sigma plus j omega, right? So when input is given as xt is e to the power st, what we have seen in output amplitude of input, the amplitude in the output as changes as mod of h plus sigma plus j omega, and the phase, if we have been talking about the phase, so shift of the phase or when it shifts the phase, we are supposed to getting some phase shift of the sinusoidal component by the factor phi sigma plus j omega. But what is not changed? The damping factor sigma is not changed. System does not change the damping factor sigma, or another thing is not changed, that omega is not changing, and or the sinusoidal frequency omega of the input. So when we have been giving this kind of input, in the output we are finding that amplitude changes is sigma h of sigma plus j omega. Our input is of this kind, this is our input e to the power st. Now if we have been doing the comparison between this final output, we have been finding an extra factor has been multiplied with the previous amplitude, and the phase shift is been occurring at the output. Okay. Next we suppose to go with Laplace transform representation. Laplace transform representation. Now how we have been representing any signal for this Laplace transformation? By the or using the complex exponential, or we can say an signal is representing any kind of arbitrary signal as a weighted superposition of all the eigen function e to the power st. Okay. So for this representation, any arbitrary signal is representing as a weighted superposition of eigenfunction e to the power st. Okay, so we know this s is sigma plus j omega. Okay, so our transfer function for this kind of input, we know that transfer function of the LTI system when this kind of input has been given, that is Hs as integration minus infinite to infinite h tau e to the power minus s tau d tau. Okay, so in this case, for our Laplace transform representation, what we have been taking, we are supposed to substitute. We know that s is sigma plus j omega, and rather choosing tau as the variable, we are taking t as a variable of integration. So our simplified expression will be sigma plus j omega integration minus infinite to infinite ht e to the power minus sigma plus j omega t. Previously that was tau, we are taking this one as t. Now we are taking more simplification on that. ht e to the power minus sigma t e to the power minus j omega t dt. So we can say this expression, that is sigma plus j omega, this expression indicates that h sigma plus j omega is the Fourier transform of ht e to the power sigma t. If you can remember that x of j omega was integration minus infinite to infinite xt e to the power minus j omega t dt. So we can say this h sigma plus j omega is the Fourier transform of ht e to the power minus sigma t. Okay, so the inverse Fourier transform of h sigma plus j omega must be this one, right? So inverse Fourier transform of h sigma plus j omega, since this one is the Fourier transform of ht e to the power minus j omega t, so obviously this one inverse Fourier transform of this one will be this. Inverse Fourier transform of h sigma plus j omega is ht e to the power minus sigma t. So what we can write, that is h t e to the power minus sigma t is equals to 1 by 2s pi integration minus infinite to infinite h sigma plus j omega e to the power j omega t d omega. Okay, now we can take out our ht by multiplying e to the power sigma t in the right hand side. So this ht we can take out, or we can recover this ht as when we have been multiplying this one that side, 1 by 2s pi integration minus infinite to infinite h sigma plus j omega e to the power j omega t d omega. We can take this one inside, 1 by 2s pi integration minus infinite to infinite h sigma plus j omega e to the power, now that one get added, sigma plus j omega t d omega. Okay, so here if you take s is equals to same sigma plus j omega, so this d omega will be replaced as t omega will be ds by j, right? So our h of t is 1 by twice pi j, 1 by twice pi j integration, that one will be now in terms of s. So this one will be sigma minus, previously that was infinite, so this one sigma minus j infinite to sigma plus j infinite, sigma minus j infinite to sigma plus j infinite more specifically. So hs e to the power st ds. So the limit on the integration are also a result of the substitution s sigma plus j omega. Okay, so if we have been talking about this expression, this hs, this expression, so this indicates how to determine hs from h of t, while this expression expresses ht as a function of hs, and this one expresses hs as a function of ht. Two separate things. This expression we have been finding hs as a function of h tau or ht. We have been modified this one by taking t as a variable. Okay, so here our ht as a function of hs. So we can say this hs is the Laplace transform of this ht, and ht is the inverse Laplace transform of hs. Two things we can take. This is equation number 1, this is equation 2, this one equation number 3. So here hs is represented in terms of this ht or tau. Here this ht is represented in terms of hs. So we can say this ht is the inverse Laplace transform of hs. This one is inverse Laplace transform of hs, and this hs is the Laplace transform of ht. Okay, so these are the representations. So if we are going with the Laplace transform of impulse response of the system, so this is the Laplace transform of the impulse response of the system. This is the Laplace transform, this is the inverse Laplace transform of the impulse response, because we have been taking that LTS system which is having the impulse response of ht. So for that LTS system, when we have been taking the impulse response, so this is the Laplace transform of that impulse response, and this is the inverse Laplace transform of the impulse response of the LTS system. Now in more general, for any signals other than the impulse response, so the Laplace transform of any signal xt, signal x of t, so what we can write, this xs, previously that was hs, so this one xs is integration minus infinite to infinite xt e to the power minus st dt. It is for any signal x of t. Now the inverse Laplace transform of this xs is xt is equals to 1 by twice pi j integration sigma minus j infinite, upper limit is sigma plus j infinite, x s e to the power st ds. So if we are having any signal xt, if we have been taking the Laplace transform, we can get xs. So if we have been talking about this expression, let us take it is 3, this one is 4, this one is 5. So this equation number 5, this one equation number 5 is the weighted superposition of complex exponential e to the power st. Okay, so this one is the weighted superposition of complex exponential e to the power st. The weights of this e to the power st, the weights are xs, so the weights are proportional to xs. Okay. Next we are supposed to find out, now when we are going with means some practical examples, so directly we are not at all taking this integration, we are supposed to take some techniques. Those techniques are known as contour integration. Contour integration, we'll see what are these. So first find out the convergence. So what we have been saying that the Laplace transform is the Fourier transform of xt e to the power sigma t, right? So we can say this Laplace transform is the Fourier transform of xt, previously that was ht e to the power st, same thing, e to the power minus sigma t. So in a condition for convergence of this Laplace transform is the absolute integrability of this xt e to the power sigma t. Convergence means the value of the integration should be finite. The value of the integration should be finite. That is what we know the convergence. A function is convergent means it is having some finite value. A function is having the result of that function is divergent means it is infinite. So what is the convergence? What is the condition for the convergence? So we can say, because everywhere it is having some infinite integration. Here also infinite, here also infinite. So what is the condition for the convergence? Convergence of Laplace transform is the absolute integrability of xt to the power minus sigma t, that is the integration minus infinite to infinite mod of xt to the power minus sigma t dt should be less than infinite. The range of sigma for which this Laplace transform converges, it is known as region of convergence, that is ROC, which is very important. So when we supposed to go with this Laplace transform, we must need to know about this ROC. So if the sigma satisfied the ROC, then only we supposed to get a finite value of the integration. Okay, the range of sigma for which the Laplace transform converges is known as region of convergence. Region of convergence or ROC. Okay. Okay, so we need to take certain limit of the sigma. We are supposed to take certain limit or certain range of sigma, so that we can suppose to get the absolute integrability of e to the power xt xt e to the power sigma t. We are supposed to define certain range of this sigma because it is exponentially decaying. So we are supposed to take certain range of this sigma, so that we are supposed to get the absolute integrability of this xt e to the power sigma t. But it may happen that xt is not absolutely integrable by itself. If we have been taking isolatedly xt, it may happen that it is not absolutely integrable, but after defining certain limit or the range of this sigma, when we have been taking these two together, so we are supposed to get the absolute integrability to find out the Laplace transformation. Okay, so if let us take an example like this, xt is e to the power t ut. So if we are supposed to take e to the power t ut, it is exponentially increasing, so that is not absolutely integrable, or its Fourier transform does not exist, since this xt is an increasing real exponential signal. So if our sigma is greater than 1, then what we can take for our Laplace, if we have been going with this Fourier transform, it is does not exist. Fourier transform does not exist. But if we have been going with our Laplace transformation, what is that? xt e to the power minus sigma t, right? And if we take that our sigma is greater than 1, so this one will be, for this xt, if we put here xt, we are supposed to get that e to the power 1 minus sigma ut, which is absolutely integrable. If we have been going with xt to the power minus sigma t, the integrability of this function is exist. So our Laplace transform works here. Okay, so we can say that Laplace transform exists, which is the Fourier transform of xt equals sigma t, right? So Laplace transform exists. Okay, so we can say something like this. If you have been drawing this signal, one was exponentially increasing, that is our given xt, that is e to the power t ut, when it is got multiplied with e to the power minus sigma t, e to the power minus sigma t, it was 1 to the power minus sigma t, we have been taken sigma greater than 1. So when we have been multiplying, the multiplied signal was from 1, it is decreasing. This value is 1, that is xt e to the power minus of sigma t. Okay, so our Fourier transform does not works for this xt, but our Laplace transform works for the Fourier transformation of xt e to the power minus sigma t. This is the benefit of using this Laplace transformation. Okay, so this sigma is crucial here, which defines the region of convergence. So whether the given function is absolute integrable or not, it's supposed to depends upon this factor sigma. So that is known as the region of convergence. Okay, means our function is having the integrable, our function is completely integrable or not, it's supposed to define, or it's supposed to depend upon this factor sigma. Okay, so let us conclude up to this. We'll go with S-plane. Previously we have seen the omega when we have been doing the transformation. Now we have been seen this S when we are doing the transformation. So we are supposed to go with the S-plane. What is that? S-plane.